Hello, guys. Stand by for a quick intro.
Welcome back to another episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Canby, and this is episode 72 with the reigning America's Strongest Man, Lucas Hatton. Lucas has been on an absolute tear, taking third at the Arnold UK, taking second at North America's Strongest Man, and currently is the third strongest man on earth on his finish at the Shaw Classic. So let's sit down with Lucas to talk all things strongman, his preparations for America's Strongest Man and his title defense, and much, much more on today's episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast with Lucas Hatton. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, notification bell so you know when all the podcasts come out. If you enjoy these episodes, consider being a member. And no further ado, here is Lucas Hatton. Hatton. All right, Lucas, how are you? Thank you for coming on the show.
Doing good. I was not expecting that intro. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I always try to put a great intro together. Of course, usually gets people excited, and hopefully they'll tune in to watch the whole thing. But I thought we could start with bullying people into competing at ASM Open category this year in Vegas. So I saw that you were bullying my buddy Peach Jones, aka Judas Peach, aka Brian Kitchen. So, so far, how's it going? How's it going with that?
We got him signed up. I tagged about 20 people in that post. Probably about 10 to 15 of them got back to me. I know a lot of guys have legitimate reasons that they're like, I'm busy, I'm doing OSG, I'm doing this and that. Well, if you do good in Americas, you don't have to do OSG. I don't know.
That's very true.
You get your Giants invite.
Really, because if, of course, depending on who wins, it doesn't. Of course, if the top person's already at Giants, it goes down to second. If that person's already at Giants, it goes down to third. So, of course, there's a lot of opportunity there. But also, it's going to be an OSG stream, so those guys are going to be watching. So, I think it's pretty important contest to do. On top of the $20,000 prize money for first, and then paid out through seventh place. Is that right?
All the way down to 10th.
All the way down to 10th, excuse me. But I was thinking, who else we can bully? I think we should start with last year's lineup. Of course, unfortunately, Crowder's out with injury from recently. Kearney retired. You talked to Justin Legary?
Yeah, he's trying to find a logistical way to do it. I think it sounds like he's had a tough couple of months, but he's trying to figure out a way to get down there. Bobby, I bullied him a little bit at the Shaw, but I think most of the guys that are on the rogue roster just aren't all that interested.
Sure.
But I was like, come on, dude, you could just come and put a little bit of effort in, have a $5,000-$10,000 weekend.
Dawson's on, of course, he's a lot right now is more competing for fun. So we'll see if he will jump in. I know he always loves America's Strongest Man. He's done probably close to a handful of America's Strongest Man over the years, but I can always drive 45 minutes north and bully him myself. So take it there. About
Levi Strong is in. He just hasn't signed up yet. Hatfield's already in. Dylan Thompson is out as he's planning on. He's kind of had a weird year, so he's going to be back next year. Gabe Pena didn't get back to me. I don't know. We'll see. He's seems like he's focusing on the family and just training in the garage. So I don't really know what he's up to. Alan Cawley, that's an interesting one.
Of course, he's been a pro since 2014. I was there when he won his pro card, and he usually likes to kind of jump in. Maybe not going to be in the running to win the contest, but he's always going to do very well in yoke, and he's always going to be a great personality for all the guys to hang out with. But we also could take a look at the 2022 results. So someone like Andrade, I think Wes Claiborne's still kind of hurt. Alex Kopp is still competing potentially, and then you have someone like Tim Buck, but I think he relinquished his pro card. So unfortunately,
I don't know if that stuck because he's on the lineup. He's already signed up.
Even better. So I'm glad that didn't stick. But I remember kind of back then because he did like the amateur show thing about the Arnold amateur. So I guess we'll see how things kind of played out. Did you talk to Austin at all?
Yeah. So he said it's possible if he feels good after Giants Live Vegas. They're just so close to each other. He doesn't want to overcommit and book flights if he's hurting. But he's he seems if he's feeling good after Giants, I think he's going to do it. I think I can get him to do it. I actually just talked to him this morning.
How about Big Ray from Arizona?
Roy?
Yes. Oh, Roy. That's
Yeah.
Roy.
Me and Alec actually just talked to Colleen, his girlfriend, yesterday. He's doing OSG, but he's trying to find a financially responsible way to do both if he can. So I just said, if you get top 4 or 5, it pays for itself. So just do good, and it's a financially good idea.
Exactly. Believe in yourself. Believe in you can achieve. Do you remember back in 2021, big Josh Silvis? He ended up coming in and kind of lighting it up there. I don't know if you reached out to Josh at all.
He said he's shooting to be back for next ASM.
Okay,
so he took a long period off. I don't know. I don't really know what happened in his life, but seems like he's back to training, which is really exciting. That dude.
I want to say he hurt his leg or he had complications, but he was also competing at like 470 when I met him. So I was competing at 105. This is San Antonio. So this is my first ASM that I won. And literally I took a picture next to him and he's more than twice the size of me, which was wild. I can't say that anymore, but at the time thought it was very wild. And then I think you could check up on Mr. Connon. I know Mr. Connon's a family man these days, but I think he still lingers. And then about Mr. Thomas Evans, have you reached out to Mr. I'm pretty sure he's a pro because he won that Arnold Amateur back in 2022.
Yeah, he is. I just again, he's on that Rogue roster. I think those guys are so worried. Like there's such big money for Rogue that can't risk the injury. I might have even been in the same boat if I was there. It's a tough call because $100+ grand on the line if you can figure out how to win that show. So yeah,
I think once that comes out, will that be the biggest money show in the sport right now?
So as far as at least what's the advertised amount, Shaw Classic was the highest this year, but Rogue, they have like 3 or 4 different income sources that increase the prize money as the show goes on. So I think at the end of the day, I think Rogue will end up paying more total. But yeah, I mean, both those shows are, $250,000+ prize pools, which is ridiculous.
I checked the Bitcoin pricing. It kind of went down since I'm not sure if the Bitcoin if they're still on Bitcoin, but it went down. It took a hit today, so hopefully maybe it will jump up prior to it. But it's funny because I saw a question come in before on the comments, and then it came away. But people are still kind of stabbing at your nickname, trying to figure out if Large Legs is going to stick or we should go with something else. I think there was some other. I think his name was Lucas, not Lucas. I forget because it's too bad because he wrote out a great comment, but it was during the pre-hours, so it might have went away. But the comment was something along the lines of he had something like Double Trouble Lucas, Double Trouble Hatton, or Bazooka Legs. Yeah, good one.
All I'm saying is Matt Eisman has too much power. He can, as the announcer, he can just determine what I'm called for all of time. And he's really driving that Large Legs thing home. I don't know, man. I don't know if I definitely don't like that.
Well, you can always you can always pick one and then pretend like Brian Shaw when he was back in like 2018 when he wanted anybody to call him Gigantor. And
was that from him?
Well, I want to say like that's something that like Brian would have thought up of, and I think like behind the scenes, someone said like, "I want to be called Gigantor, guys. Please call me Gigantor."
I don't know. I hear that just based on how he is. I feel like that was something like because I only ever heard that name at like Giant shows and stuff like that, where I'm like, that seems like something like Colin Bryce would find funny. And I don't know. I feel like that'd be the other way. If I was Brian, I wouldn't want to be called Gigantor. At a certain point, I'm just like,
I like your coach's suggestion, the Quad Father. That could stick.
Yeah, like it's the same thing, but it's at least a good name. Like it's a name, not just Large Legs.
Absolutely. So the last one I forgot to mention was in terms of the ASM roster. I imagine T-Rex is also focusing on the Rogue Invitational, so he might not want to risk it at ASM as well. Did you reach out to Mr. Evan?
No, I have not. I basically the dudes that are on that on the Rogue roster, I figured they're not going to do it. I did talk to a lot of them like in person when we were at Shaw. The one that I was pushing a lot was actually Trey. Because Trey's not on the Rogue roster. he does have Giants. He's doing one of the end of the year Giant shows. But it's not out of the question. Trey could show up. And Trey's an absolute problem if he does show up. So
the events haven't came out yet, correct?
No, they have. I think it's a situation where James Steffenbaugh, I think he's just a little bit stretched thin at the moment, understandably so.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the outward facing marketing for the show hasn't been great. And so I'm just trying to put it out as much as I can. So the events are Trump log, 300 or 360. Admittedly, I think that's a little light. I would have gone like maybe 330, 385, or press guy over here, I want 350, 400. But then there's a yoke down and back, pretty heavy. There's max distance Husafell. They're bringing out those America shields that they used a few years ago. They're doing a deadlift ladder, building up to a Kratos bar at 850. They're doing a stone series, and then the fifth the stone series will be the last event. The fifth event is tentatively Fingal Fingers, but it just depends if James has time to finish the build. So that might change. But yeah, that's the events. They're pretty basic strongman events, so it's not like anything crazy the guys would have to put in a ton of extra prep for. It's normal strongman. Let's figure out who's the strongest. So it's really easy to kind of bully guys into doing it. It's like you're prepped for a log, man. You can deadlift, you can do yoke. It's just normal strongman.
All right. Well, it seems like an exciting show. Of course, the Olympia last time you had some great ones. So Will Yeager was the one that had the nicknames. So we had General Hatton, the ostrich egg, the mass squatch. Am I saying that correctly? The mass
squatch.
Bazooka, the old ham steak. Lucas, the old ham steak.
The old ham steak.
Pacific beef.
Also, the Pacific beef. Damn.
I think you got those at least could be shirts. I don't know if you started.
They could be shirts. I got a client. His wife is pushing for the Hitman Hatton because it's like I keep beating people that they don't expect me to beat. It's kind of cool. She made a little logo. The kind of funny though, the logo she made really quickly. The dude on it just looks like Hooper. It doesn't look like me. I'm like, hey, we need to rework that. That's not me. But no, I don't know. It's going to be what it's going to be. I guess I don't get it. I guess I do get a say, but I don't get a say. You think who makes the final say? Strongman Reddit? You think that's the vote?
Ooh, I feel like that's like the origins. That's like the deepest of the strongman queries, and then from there, whatever kind of comes out, maybe through Instagram, potentially TikTok. TikTok is kind of growing the strongman scene, not so much, but it's slowly coming along. But speaking of Pacific beef, how much are you weighing these days?
I'm down about 10 pounds from Shaw, so 365. I weighed 375 when I was at the show, which was egregious.
Nice.
I didn't try to get that big. Dude, whenever I get in prep mode, I just, I'm like, okay, I got to eat all my meals. I got to do all this stuff. I got to eat. I got to do, and I put on the weight. Which I guess a natural like 5 to 10 pounds during a good heavy peak is good. But I need to, the goal right now is to get down to about 340 to 350.
Is your goal by when? By end of the year? By next year? When are you trying to do that?
I'm anticipating my first major show after ASM will likely be Arnold, Ohio. I'd be pretty surprised at this point if I don't get invited to Ohio. So by Ohio, I'm hoping to maybe start the prep at like 340, 345. Obviously, it's going to be a heavy show, put on a little bit of weight, maybe build back into the mid 350s. I can't be 360, 370 anymore. It's uncomfortable. I'm very strong, but it's uncomfortable.
Have you ever gotten any body fat percentages done?
Not in recent history. We have an in body at the gym. I'd be kind of curious to hop on that thing.
I think when I did my in body because we had in body also at TPS, I think I was too big for it. So if I'm gonna be too big for it, you're definitely gonna be too big for it. So because I think I gained like 30 pounds, but my muscle mass remained the same. So
So you
I just gained fat.
the dirtiest of bulks.
Now, do you have any kind of bulking tips for someone like myself? You'd be proud of me. I woke up at 293 this morning, but I'm still trying to get to probably the 300-pound mark so I can cut down maybe to like a lean 290 by probably early next year. But any bulking tips for myself or the listeners?
Oh, dude, it's weird. I have the blessing and curse of putting on weight so easy. I say that, but I took so I graduated college at 2017 at like 250, and I put basically 10 to 15 pounds a year on since then. And I don't feel like I do anything crazy with my food or training. Like, I am an expert at sleeping though. I might be the best at it. I sleep too damn much.
Do you think like, for instance, like you get good quality, get your food in, good quality sleep, and that helps towards the weight gain? Because what was interesting was I was Mr. Brian Kitchen, aka Judas Peach, aka Peach Jones. He said that he was about 265 for a while, and it was struggling to gain weight. But once he hopped on his sleep app, is how he started gaining the weight pretty rapidly, and ended up at about 150 kilos where he is like right now. Mm-hmm. So I asked, do you have a sleep app or?
No, I don't, and I should.
I'm getting mine in a few weeks.
Yeah, I tried it for about 6 months, and I don't think I slept more than an hour with it on in 6 months, and I tried hard. But I need to give it another shot, but I need to attack that kind of from two sides. I need to get the CPAP, and I also need to lose the weight.
Sure.
So one thing that was kind of a good thing that happened for me, I wouldn't recommend it because it sucked, but I got my tonsils and adenoids removed as an adult when I was like over 300 pounds. And the surgeon basically, when he went in there, he's like, you have a pretty obstructed airway. Any extra tissue, I'm just going to cut it out. So he did it. And when I woke up in the recovery room, like even swollen up, I took a breath and I was like, oh, air's never been there before. That's crazy. That feels like 2 breaths. So compared to most big guys, I probably actually breathe better in my sleep because like I literally got tissue removed as an adult after I got big, which is kind of a unique thing. The recovery was horrible. I would never recommend that surgery to anybody.
How long was you said tonsils and your
tonsils and adenoids? It's normally like a rough 2 weeks, but I went back to work too soon and I had complications, and it ended up being like 5 weeks of being down because I kept re-tearing stitches and stuff. This was probably 3-4 years ago now.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, now since then I've gotten a bit bigger. I definitely need the CPAP. To say I don't would be almost like that's not accurate.
Sure. Robo Pistoltron wants to know: Did they give you all the ice cream that you could eat?
Oh yeah, no, and I lived on the Sonic ice slushies. Everyone knows Sonic has the best ice in the world.
And then Nico decides to chime in. Good afternoon, Nicholas and Lucas. And I don't know what he's just being mean.
Good afternoon, Nico.
Good afternoon, Nico. But for a big guy, you actually move very well. Would you give that towards your programming, your like mobility drills, cardio? What do you kind of attribute to like how you're just movement towards, I guess, moving events?
Sure. So I think because I got big, but I got big kind of slow. I never stopped doing things like sprints and plyo, some weightlifting movements when we're in off season. Like I just never stopped doing that stuff as I got bigger. I think there's a slow creep that happens as you get larger. You start to, or as you get older or things start to get hurt, you start to stop doing things because they're uncomfortable. Right. And there's this slow creep where your quality of life and your athleticism kind of goes down and you don't even realize it because it happens really slowly. On a lot of things, I just refuse to stop. And now a lot of the push for me being 370-ish, wanting to cut down is I'm like, okay, now life has actually become uncomfortable in a lot of ways. And that creep is noticeable. Like, just like I can't hike anymore. I can't do a lot of things I used to like to do, or they're uncomfortable to do so. So it's like, this is the first time that creep, I've started to feel it. But I can still, even at this weight, I can still do all my plyo. I can still sprint. I still do all that stuff.
That's a good one. How often do you sprint?
It just depends where we're at in our training phase. So like the farther we are from
if you had like a far off season, you had like a 3-week block that you're focusing on sprinting.
Off season, every week we're doing some kind of plyo sprinting. And it's not so much about, oh, I need to be a faster sprinter. It's the deceleration that is super important as a bigger guy. Like, I mean, that's half the benefit of plyo anyways. It's not just peak force output, but it's peak force absorption, right? Like, can your ankles, knees, hips absorb and stop your body weight or cut or change direction? And then in our sport, can we do that with increased loads on our body? Like, there's so many strongmen that they couldn't do like a even light 2-footed bunny hop for like 50 feet. Their ankles and feet and all that stuff would hurt. And they wonder like why it hurts when they do yoke. Like, you don't even have like a baseline level of like foot and ankle rigidity and health. Like, they don't even think about that. Like, the tissue prep of that, especially as people who are very heavy, you need to be doing that stuff. And then things like yoke and farmers and all that stuff will feel better. They're still hard. They're still heavy, but just people don't think about that kind of stuff. And I am very thankful for Alec. Like, I knew about a lot of this style of training because I was a track coach before. But he's so much more knowledgeable about it than me. And just some of the things he writes, I'm just like, why the hell are we doing that? And I do it. I'm like, okay, this feels better now. Right. Like, he's the man behind the curtain making things happen.
When it comes to that, where your top 2 takeaways from Alec when it comes to like mobility, cardio, sprints, plyometrics?
I think if I had to boil him down, it's like his main mantra is like, strongman is just sports, and the entire sport has forgotten that. We just need to train like people who do sports. We're athletes. We need to sprint. We need to jump. We need to do all that stuff. And then I think the main thing that he's very, very skilled at is exercise selection and weight selection. Just working appropriately hard in the ways that we need to. And we've taken 2 or 3 years to kind of learn each other and like what's good for me, what's good for other athletes. I think I've missed like 5 lifts in training in 3 years.
Wow.
Because I just listen to what he says. Like, the deciding the right movement and the right number on the right day is the true talent that guy has. Right. Like, and when I started with him, I think my deadlift was 720. I just barely missed 930 3 years ago or 3 years later. Right. I had a 365 overhead when I started with him. I could press 500 out of the rack. I could probably do a 500 log if I had a prep for it. You know, like, I can't thank that dude enough. He's invested a lot of time and effort into my training. I know I take up a considerable percentage of his coaching time.
Well, I think it does help when you guys are roommates, but
yeah, well, he moved across the country to be my roommate, right? Like, we're in this for the long haul, man.
I love it. You said on the Massonomics podcast, which was a great podcast, that your goal is to have a world-class gym or the strongest gym on the planet. What is that? What do you have in mind? Was it going to take to have that type of facility?
I think as far as strongman goes, we're well on our way. I think there are 9 active pros that train out of the gym. There's 11 pros that went pro while they were at Dungeon. But Dan Hughes and Josh Hatfield have moved away. But 9 active pros in the gym. We have 3 or 4 world titles. We have like 10 or 12 national titles. International podiums are just racking up every year. We have Arnold Classic champion with Angelica Jardine. So I think on strongman, if we just we've built a culture, we brought the right people there, right coaches there. I think we just keep doing what we're doing. I don't think there's a single gym in the world that has that many people in the same room.
Sure. Now, do you think about like any like equipment, like must need equipment? Do you ever think like must need recovery items, must need outings? Like what's it going to take to be the best gym?
You know, like community. We're at a point where with the Rainier, our big show that we host is kind of the great opportunity to accumulate equipment. every year it's just a reinvestment in ourselves. So like if there's big equipment that we need, like we're one of the only gyms we have, we could have like 6 people pressing log at once, right? And everyone's using like real Cerberus crash, like log crash pads and but we only own that much stuff because we host shows, right? We have all of our bars of the brands we need, like, and it's reached a point where we're very fortunate. Like, the gym is starting to reach a more comfortable place financially. And it's just, that's all thanks to my business partner, Ryan. And at this point, if we need it to train with, we can usually get it. And at a certain point, we're just going to run into a square footage problem. And it's crazy because we just expanded. Like, we're only 1 year in our new space as of a couple of days ago. Sure. And we've more than doubled our membership. We have pros. I've been talking to a couple pros from around the country that want to move to the Northwest to train with us. And I think the next kind of frontier for us is our mission statement is we want to be the best in the world at strongman, powerlifting, weightlifting. And it's really leaning into those other 2 sports. We have some great powerlifters, some great weightlifters. So it's just investing in those athletes, bringing the right coaches into the room, which I think we have now. And it's just putting in the years, man. We've been doing, as a group, like me, Aaron, Zach, Ryan, all these people, we've been together doing strongman for, damn near a decade. We just got this powerlifting and weightlifting group together. We just got to, we have the model. We just got to put in the time.
But the question is, do you have a Tsunami Bar at Dungeon Strength?
You know what, Nicholas Canby, I will disagree with you on the utility of the Tsunami Bar. That is a debate that I am willing to have.
All right, we're going there. All
okay.
Right. Tell me.
Okay, so if the training principles of Tsunami Bar were useful, I think it would be widely utilized in weightlifting. It's a sport that's many decades old with government funding from many countries. It's like basically the largest experiment in how to get people strong and put big weights overhead. And they don't use the Tsunami Bar. And I don't think it's because they don't know about it. I think it is a good tool. I just, I don't know. I'm not sold on it being like the missing piece in people's training.
I don't think it's a missing piece, but I think it's a great accessory, and I think it keeps it accessory. It's never a main lift in any of my workouts. It's usually after my main work exercises where I'm trying to add more volume, where I'm trying to focus on speed. Sure. I don't think it's ever going to be that point where I use it for 1 rep maxes, but it's always going to be that piece in terms of potentially building speed or potentially building, I would say, endurance when it comes to reps. Like, for instance, if I was doing the Viking press or doing something like that, but it's never going to be that I would say that golden ticket to get your 1 rep max.
So do you really like it for that, like overcoming that additional force of the rebound? Is that why you really like it?
A little. So of course it's the variable load throughout the lift. But also it's one of those items where it does reinforce form. So I use it especially when I started because it's a little more compared to barbell. If you're too forward or too far back, it's gonna sway you side to side. So it forces you to be in a good pattern. So you have to have a good bend of your hips, good bend of your knees, and a great dip in order to put that off. And then it really forces you to triple extend. You almost do. I always call it the body pop, getting those shoulders up and pushing that bar as high as you can.
Yeah, because I imagine if you early arm press, that bar really punishes you for it. You really have to be fundamental in the front rack. So no, I as much as I talk my trash, no, it is a good bar. I don't use it.
I believe it, but I think for instance,
there is a time and a place. There is. So I would consider it. Maybe I can talk to the guys for you a discount if you're nice enough for me for the rest of the podcast. But let's talk about Olympic lifts. So it's not. I don't think it's a big surprise to me that you're a great presser, but also do a lot of Olympic lifts, just like myself, just like someone like Pavlo Kordiaka. Do you think that more athletes should incorporate Olympic lifting into their normal routines or off-season routines? Yeah, I think they should if they're good at them, or if they have a good coaching resource to learn them. I don't think it's a good tool in the toolbox if every time you do a snatch session, you're just battling your technique. There's other great ways to work on triple extension and max force output with a barbell, right? There's a lot of other ways to do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a snatch. I think a snatch is a great one to do. If it is something you're technically comfortable with and you can hit it, once you're technically comfortable, you can hit it as hard as you want. You're not limited by your technique. Mm-hmm. It's a great movement. I think strongman in the off season, yes, you need to work on your weaker events, quite often in the off season, but people just don't focus on being generally strong, generally fast. You just need to enter your prep with your body feeling good and stronger than you were at the beginning of the last prep and faster, right? Like, so if they are comfortable, good movements for you, I think they should be in. Like the thing Alec always says is like 8 to 12 weeks out, we're doing weightlifting. We're not doing events, right? Like we're just getting generally powerful. I don't need to do more log, right? Like I will peak my log, but like I don't need to do 12 weeks of log every time it comes up. I need to enter that log prep with explosive legs, my body feeling good, appropriate mobility, and hitting my Olympic lifts helps me do that.
Yeah, I believe it. Now, do you still snatch like in an off-season program if it was 12 weeks in above plus? Yeah. Because that's the one movement I think I started taking now probably after 2016 because it was spending too much time on form, and then it was just almost counterproductive when I'm trying to do dumbbell and then snatch. It's just almost like too much shoulder range of motion and movement. But what's your best snatch?
I just barely last peak missed 315. I've done 300 on a couple occasions. I don't care to attempt anything in between those two numbers. I want 3 plates, which I know is as good as like a 12-year-old Russian girl. But for me, I'd be quite proud of a 315 snatch.
So I think my best was 294 when I was in the peak of it. And then there was one day where I hit 300 7 times, but I couldn't stand up. I hit it in the hole. I just stood there. I'm like, stand. It just never came up. Greek Goliath chimed in. He goes, I utilize the Tsunami Bar for my athletes. And if the Greek Goliath does it, then everybody should do it.
Yes. The greatest presser ever in the sport of strongman, the Greek Goliath.
The Greek Goliath. But in terms of like, if you had to choose like your 3 favorite Olympic movements, what would it be to program or for people that should do it?
I think that a really low skill curve one that they can just smash on day one, single arm dumbbell snatch. Love the single arm dumbbell snatch. I find it much easier to coach snatches than cleans for most athletes. Like a snatch high pull. I don't think there's even a necessity to catching the snatch. A snatch high pull is a really good one. And then one that we've actually started doing recently is a snatch balance. I don't know if you know what that is.
I saw you do that recently.
So
on your Instagram or one of your vlogs.
Well, maybe not even necessarily a snatch balance, but overhead squats. I know maybe people don't consider that a traditional weightlifting movement, but it does wonders to open up the shoulder and just be comfortable with weight overhead. It's just a lot of time with weight overhead and just learning how to get the chest and head through as you need to under load. A lot of heavyweight dudes could really benefit from some overhead squats. The really big guys might have to do it with a 8-foot squat bar at first. But I think single arm dumbbell snatch high pulls, because you could just rip on both of those with not a huge skill curve. And then I like the overhead squats quite a bit.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say power cleans.
If you're good at power cleans, sure. I can't front rack anymore, so I've lost my ability to do cleans. Once upon a time when I was a weightlifter, hang cleans would have been my favorite. But
interesting. What was the best hang? Did you rest? Did you strap up for hang cleans and just rip it?
No. I my best ever hang clean was hook grip. I still don't know how the hell I did this. This is like one of the greatest lifts I've ever done. I was like 250 in college, hook grip, hang clean 405. And nice. It was dumb because I competed in weightlifting at the time. From the floor, my best clean was like 350, but I could hang clean anything. But I think that's just from being a thrower, like that short, I did a very short down up cycle for my cleans. Just that top 3 inches is super powerful for throwing. So used to love hang cleans, can't do it anymore. It kind of makes me sad.
I haven't done it in a while, especially since the bicep, getting back with the bicep, but I do want to get back into it. I think I did some full clean and jerk last year. I think I worked up to 180 or 396. So I want to get back into it. But the big question I have for you today is, did you ever get any blowback on your post using Lizzo as a metric of weight? She happened to step away from the spotlight a few days after with a video.
Oh man, I hope that yeah. Well, so that video almost got no traction, and then like a week later, I'm like on the plane going to Arnold, UK, and I'm like, oh, it has like 2 million views overnight, and it's just in the comments. I think it was a few things. The Lizzo meme. Everyone in the comments was saying I looked like a streamer named Case. Like, and I do. I look just like the guy. There's thousands of comments saying I look just like the guy. And then the song, whatever. The people would just remember the song. But yeah, it could not have been worse timing. And then like a week later, Lizzo posted like, "I'm done with social media." I'm like, I really hope it wasn't from my video. I intended for like my normal 2,000 views, and like at that time, I was getting like very little traction on Instagram. I gained 65,000 followers from that Lizzo meme. And I proceeded to lose like 8,000 in the months afterwards because I think people realized I'm not like a meme lord.
You're not a meme person.
I'm not what they followed me for. But since I finally started to gain followers again. So we're on the positive track now with nothing to do with Lizzo.
All right, perfect. But yeah, I was very curious. But yeah, that was quite the first time I ever seen that use a certain athlete, or no, sorry, not athlete, use a certain celebrity as a metric of weight.
So I got to give credit where credit's due. I didn't make that up. That was oh man, what is he makes a bunch of lifting videos. It's his. I have to credit whatever. I'll think about it.
World's Strongest Man?
No. It's like he's like a power lifter. He's a little bit like he's like a heavyweight.
No,
he always does the video like at the end. He flicks his hat and he's like sensational. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
No, but anyways, I stole that from him. I did end up giving him credit. But I think he was a little pissed off that I used his Lizzo metrics.
And you got 2 million views.
That's like seven plus and 65,000 fucking followers from it. Crazy.
Impressive. Well, it was good. They got to see your talent. They got to see that you're America's Strongest Man. So, yeah. But speaking of America's Strongest Man, so will America's Strongest Man be your last competition of the year?
Unless I get a call from anyone from Rogue, yeah, I think it's my last of the year. I can't see anything else that would. I'm tired, man. I put a lot into the preps we did this year. Mm-hmm. I haven't quite reached the point. Like I think with Hooper and Thor, and probably Tom, like those guys, they can compete fairly often because a lot of the things are percentage work for them. I need to have a long proper peak to get to those levels. And I think just give me a year or two. I need 2 years to catch up with those guys on a couple big metrics. And I put a lot in to each prep and it just takes a lot out of me. And I need to improve the fitness over time too. So I can just compete a little bit more often and recover a little better. So yeah, just give me 2 years. You know, I might be on a similar schedule what those guys are doing.
All right. Yeah, but yeah, work capacity is, I would say it's quite the item. Of course, it's being able to actually, I think Dane Bonin found the guy. Is this the guy? Too buff for this? I have to give too buff. Oh, it's too buff for this, not too biff for this. But yeah, too buff for this. That dude puts out really funny videos, but for a very long time, he's been using Lizzo as a unit of measure. He says Lizzo is 300 pounds. I was using it as 400 pounds. So I was actually factually incorrect. I did a Google search and it is about 300 pounds. Well, thank you for chiming in, Dane. But yeah, but it's amazing. Like for instance, like I always say that people sometimes only have like 2 great peaks in a year, but you see someone like Thor and Mitch, they could be maybe not even close to their top peak, but still blasting away the competition and winning shows. So it's a real testament to their skill and real testament to their training to be that strong and everything. So let's just say ASM's your last contest. What does your off season look like? What do you want to really focus on? I know you mentioned about trying to slim down a little bit down to 340, but what other goals you have in mind?
It really comes down to I need to really build my grip. I'd say okay, so my three weak points, and they're getting closer to not being weak points at this point. My grip, because I'm good at traditional grip, like farmers, wheelbarrow, stuff like that. But if I catch that 880 frame at the Arnold, I don't think I can do it. Right. So I need to level up the grip. And things like arm over arm grip is actually my limiting factor. So like just weird crushing grip. So I think we're just going to attack grip in a lot of new ways this offseason. I need to perpetually build my deadlift. I was a bottom of the barrel deadlifter. Now I'm a pretty solidly mid-pack deadlifter. And as we saw at Shaw, if I can get 20 to 30 more pounds out of my deadlift, it's pretty safe to say I'm at about a 915, 920 pull right now. I just barely missed 931. So if I can get up to like 950 on any given prep, I think that's good on points. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Throwing. Throwing. I got to beat like 4 more people. I didn't get last.
You just need to get rid of throwing in general.
Yeah, no, we both hate throwing. But I didn't get last at Strongest Man on Earth. I beat Maxime Boudreau, and that will prove the only time I'll ever beat him in throwing. He just had trajectory issues. I think I also beat Hoth and somebody else. I didn't get last. I thought I was getting last in that event.
When's a win?
I was. Everyone was laughing at me because I was straight up celebrating about hitting the opening height. Like I was very excited.
Well, I love that. I love that plan. So we've been all over the place on this podcast, but one thing I like to ask everybody is what grinds your gears. So in the world of strongman or the world of gym culture, is there anything that grinds your gears?
Oh, I don't like young powerlifting culture. Ooh. And I'm gonna sound like back in my day, right? I'm one of those guys. But I think powerlifting at one point was a very blue collar, kind of a rougher thing. And it was just people training really, really hard. And just like the younger USAPL culture of like, here's my 20-year-old coach who doesn't know anything, but I don't know. It's just, I need my carpet and my slippers and I'm like, dude, just do some sets of 5 pretty hard and put on 30 pounds of muscle in the next 10 years or next 3-4 years. That's what you need to do. Like
that's really funny. That's funny. I went on Ken's Iron Edge podcast, Ken, the head of Cerberus, a week and a half ago. And that was the same thing. He said the same thing about young powerlifters because he said they were much different than the old powerlifters. Just because they need pretty much the whole the people that buy all the different SBD colorways, and then tripods, just too much science based instead of too much putting in the effort or putting in the actual sweat and tears.
What's funny is I think a lot of the things that are deemed normal aren't as science based as they think. They're training like their coach that's a true 1% lifter who is stuck in a weight class and is natty, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like that person just needs to work on expressing new power. They can't focus on hypertrophy too much because they got to stay in their weight class and they're already world class, right? Like but then they're coaching some kid who's 19 and like that kid who's 19 just needs to get way, way stronger and put on a ton of muscle for like 5 years. That's all they need to do. They don't need to be doing their like fatigue single and like RPE 6 back downs. Like, dude, just lift hard. Like,
so I imagine you're curving that culture within Dungeon Strength.
A little bit, yeah. The running joke is that I hate powerlifting, and I don't. I genuinely don't hate powerlifting. It's not my thing. But a lot of the younger lifters, I just guide them towards the right resources, the right coaches. Just trying to like, Yeah, eventually, yes. Yeah, there's a kid that Alec coaches that me and him kind of like help out, and kid's super talented, like 16, really good power lifter, and he's like, can't wait to be world champion, like trying to be world champion one day. And it's like, yeah, Alex, like you will be as a 90-kilo strongman. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get, who we need to get the crossover is De Jesus Oliveira. I think, hopefully I said that right. He's the current world. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Or was I way off? All right.
No, Jesus Oliveras.
Oliveira's, there we go.
Yeah, he's it'd be interesting because I feel like 2 feet in the ground, he might be unstoppable. But he's surprisingly short. Like he's a big dude, but he's surprisingly short. He'd have a lot of traditional short guy problems.
Sure, but I think it would just, yeah, absolutely. Would just be fun. You're 6 feet. Is that right?
Right at 6 feet.
It's very 6 feet. Yeah, I'm 5'11" 3/4. So I think you have a hair on me or so. So we're wrapping up on the podcast here. Are you still gonna keep running your podcast segment of who the frick is this guy on your channel?
Yeah, we want to do the next one with Bryce Johnson. Admittedly, me and Alec have just sucked at setting up a time, and it just hasn't lined up. Like yesterday, we wanted to do it, and we forgot Bryce is basically on the East Coast, and we're like, time to do it, and he's like, I'm in bed. So we're gonna get that going here sometime in the next week. But I think Bryce Johnson will probably be the next one, and we've got a couple other guys that we've reached out to. So that's probably the main goal for the offseason is my YouTube and social media has obviously done the best when I'm at shows. I kind of want to get in a regular routine of like doing it like it's my job, because it kind of is now, and just see if we can have some fun with the YouTube in the off season.
Of course, pump it out. Will Yair came back. It's obvious. Lucas, the Dungeon Master, Hatton. And then
it's not bad. If people don't know about my gym, it's a little strange.
Oh, that's pretty good. I guess Mitch posted him running a 4-minute kilometer the other day. So Mitch is a great run. I said recently we're trying to figure out why Mitch is as good as he is. I say just because he came into the sport at the right time. He has the physio background. He didn't beat himself up on the way to World's Strongest Man. He now competes on really great equipment. He's really smart and leveraging good information. So, and plus on having pretty good genetics. Is there anything you want to add why you think Mitch is as good as he is?
I think he's a really good example of, like, everyone describes him, and he self-describes as like a kind of an overnight success in strongman. But I think most overnight successes take 10 years to be an overnight success. He just, I think my biggest strength is just a wide variety of sports background. My tissues were prepped in a lot of different ways, trained in a lot of different ways. And I think Mitch is very much the same, like American football, traditional education, probably ran into some good coaches along the way, focused on powerlifting, then on running. His connective tissue is just prepped in a ways that somebody that just does strength sports might not have, right? And he knows how to run, he knows how to move, he knows how to jump. He's a true 1%er athlete. You don't have to teach him how to do stuff. And I think he took 10 years becoming that 1%er athlete, and then a couple years of strongman training. Look at that, you're at the top of the sport.
Very, very much so. Greek Goliath chimed in. What does Lucas miss more, me or his hair?
Well, I don't miss my hair at all. So I do miss you, Nico. I look back to photos when I had hair, and I don't think I like any of them except back in college. My hairline has been horrible since 22.
So he misses you, Nico. So maybe we'll have to get you out of Boston sooner than later. Of course, Mitch has very well-defined term goals. That's true. That's goal setting is super important. But that kind of leads into my next question. So when everything is all said and done, what are you looking to accomplish in the sport of strongman?
Oh man, Mitch kind of just did it. I want to do the strongman Grand Slam. I want, or at least be a mainstay, at least minimum, be a mainstay in the strongman Big Four as long as possible. As long as I enjoy it, as long as I'm healthy, as long as I'm having fun, I want this to be my career, and it's very quickly becoming that. My job is being a strongman now, and it's so weird. A year ago, I couldn't say that. And as long as I can be a part of this awesome sport that's given me so much, I'm happy. And yes, I want to win World Strongest Man. I want to win Strongest Man on Earth. I want to win the Arnold Classic. I want to do those things. There's a bald dude with a mustache standing in the way, and Tom Stoltman and Thor are not slouches either. And there's about 10 other guys that are murderers too. It's I might not achieve any of those goals, but I'm going to put a damn lot of effort into doing it, and I'm stick around as long as I can. And honestly, probably more importantly, through the gym, coaching, and competing, and I'm going to stay involved with the sport after competing. I want to leave this thing a little better than I found it. I look up to Brian quite a bit, especially after meeting him at the Shot Classic. Like, his impact is going to be a lot deeper than what he did competing, and I think a lot more of us need to start thinking of it, our experience in the sport that way. Like, it's not just the titles and competing. That stuff at the end of the day, 20 years down the line, is probably more important to me than the titles. But I really do want the titles.
Absolutely. Robo Pistoltron mentioned, I believe it, Lucas is a podium guy for sure. Yeah, you're on what is it, 6 contest podium streak right now?
5. Well,
5. Do you include
6
nationals?
Well, so no, I lost the streak in between nationals. OSG, I got tied for 4th. But so I have 5 pro podiums. So every pro show I've ever done, I podiumed. It's technically a 6 podium streak if you include the Arnold Amateur. When I lost to Oscar by like that much. So, but yeah, 6 podiums in a row, 5 pro podiums. That streak's going to get a lot harder to hold as we get into things like the Arnold Classic. But I'm hopeful.
And then there's another one. Potentially, if ASM goes well, get the Giants live spot. The World Tour Finals will be right after. So to see how the body's feeling.
We'll see.
Maybe that'd be the first one, or prep for a whole year so you can really pick out either like a deadlift champs, a log champs, an axle champs. That'll be pretty cool.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn. I get why a guy like Cooper and Singleton, like why those guys compete at all the Giants. It's cool. It's great financial opportunity, great exposure, good shows.
Mm-hmm.
I like my long preps in my off season, and like that's the model that I've used to stay healthy. If my year was just Arnold, Worlds, Shaw, Rogue, and maybe ASM North America's, I'd be fine with that. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be a guy that's like, I'm going to do 5 Giants this year. Like, at a certain point, I think every time you compete, you ruin 2-3 weeks of prep for a bigger show.
But what if like you could always go into, you don't have any aspirations for a record? Like, for instance, you could potentially just go in as a guest and only just do 1 lift and an axle championships or a log championships. Be like an Iron Baby.
I don't think it's worth it. So like where those shows fall in the year. So let's say you get invited to Rogue Invitational. If you compete in a contest, whether you believe it or not, you've ruined 2 weeks of training for the Rogue. Like, so right in the middle of Rogue prep, you've just spent 1 week deload into your log lift championships.
Mm-hmm.
You get accumulated to in a time zone. You then come home and you have to deload after the show because you do hurt whether you admit it or not. Right. I just I'm pretty picky when I compete, and I have no issue saying no. I want to keep the body healthy and in one piece and competitive. The model I've been using has made me podium every time that we've competed. And I'm not in a rush to change that. And people find it weird. And I know, like, people are like, why the hell did you say no to Worlds? It wasn't the right decision for my body and for my professional life. So I have no issue saying no.
I think looking back at it, I think it was potentially the right choice because, of course, you went on a slew, it went on a tear. So I think it's the right opportunity. Of course, I was biased because I wanted to compete with you again, but of course I understood that a lot going on. So I would say a lot to dissect. Of course, it will be excited to re-listen to everything. There's some questions coming into it. Do you have another 5 minutes?
I do.
All right. So
I got nothing going on today.
if a dumbbell for Max came up in a show like Worlds with Arnold, how heavy could you push it? Joseph Tower. That's a great question.
That's a question I want to know myself. At the Arnold Amateur, when we last competed, I just barely missed 300, and that was 2 years ago. And I have gotten much better dumbbells since then. I have no doubt I can go 300 plus because I've been doing 285 at the end of ladders 2 times now. I just never had a reason. That dude in Russia has the world record now. Yeah.
David Shami. Yes, I've competed against him a couple times at 105. It sucks that he can't leave Russia really and compete elsewhere, but hopefully one day we're able to sneak him out and get him in front of. But he sits like at 130. Not even he's pretty light.
Yeah. So to say, oh, I'd break the world record, it's just such uncharted territory that I don't know. I think if I committed the time and prep for it, I think I could break the world record in the dumbbell. But yeah, you never know until you have 330 on your shoulder.
Absolutely. There's a what if, what would you hit on the log if you were at the log open in Giants Live? So let's just say hypothetically you did a small prep and you just went over there. What do you feel like you could do?
So I have no doubt I have 220 kilos in me. So about 485. Yeah. I have not a doubt in my mind. I hit 465 at North America's on one of the most challenging logs. Like if anybody's ever been in North America's, it's a 10-inch log with 2-inch handles, and it's just a rusty nightmare. It's a tough log. It's one of the hardest logs I've ever used. And I hit 465, and it was a speed rep, just easy. So 220, 485, 100%. I know I could hit that.
Now, are you planning to push press from on? Are you gonna keep the split jerk in your arsenal, or
I can't get the split jerk to feel good on the log. I don't get the same dip and drive on the log. So I'm going to push press the log, much to Alex's dismay. That man loves the split jerk. Like if I think there might be a time that I switch for maxes, but as far as for reps and stuff,
it doesn't make sense. If your push press is so strong that it doesn't really make sense. But no, Alec had to chime in. I personally think he's capable of 153.
Okay,
thank you,
Let's
Alec.
Figure that out.
Absolutely.
When we get a shot.
So you have your coaching available. You have of course you're busy on Instagram. You're busy on YouTube. I'm going to have that on the later in the description, but also I'm going to repost this on a separate for its own show. So it'll be in the description so they can find you. Where else can they find you online?
No, Instagram and YouTube is pretty much it right now.
No Twitch, no Discord,
no Twitch, not yet.
No LinkedIn, no.
I think my LinkedIn still says I run a security company. That's a couple years old. The other thing you can do is follow Dungeon Strength RX on Instagram. That's my gym. I run it with two of my best friends. Great coaches. Just a lot of good education coming out of that page. And if you're in the Northwest, it's one of the best gyms around. So just stop by. That's my spot, and I'd love to show it to you.
Tell Ryan Terry that I always appreciate the invite to the Rainier. It just hasn't worked for me the last few years. But one of these days, I'm going to come out and meet him in person. I met Sal a couple years ago at ASM, but I haven't met Ryan yet.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Rainier is not officially scheduled yet, but we're going to go after Worlds this year, not the same weekend as Worlds.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll still be like May, early June. But it's definitely going to be after Worlds. I can't double book that again.
And then Kurt McGirt says, love you too. We love you too, Kurt. And to finish off the show, Lucas, one piece of advice you want to leave the listeners.
Ooh, man, not to get too philosophical, but be pessimistic of what you can do in the next month or two, but very optimistic what you can do in the next couple of years. It's kind of crazy. I was in parking lots a couple of years ago competing, as all the pros were. And I always was like, oh, I'm going to deadlift this in 3 months. And I didn't. But we just kind of stuck with it, found a coach that worked, found a model that worked. And I can't believe the opportunities are coming right now and the lifts that are moving. Just put in the years, not the months. It's just going to take time, but you can do it.
Awesome. Great word. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, stay strong.
Yep. Yep.